Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are having a look at what is happening in Germany. So, over the course of the last 24 hours, there have been reports by mainstream media outlets alleging that there was a coup d'etat underway inside of Germany. So let's first set the record straight. A coup d'etat is when active duty elements of the armed forces of a nation state attempt to overthrow or gain power inside of that nation state. And I'm seeing things occur within the confines of what is happening right now in Germany that are very similar to the way words are being used and have been used, say, in January 6th here in the United States. January 6th, whatever you think of it, was not a coup d'etat. But those in the mainstream media, especially on the far left, tend to take words and change what happened on the ground and use words that don't correctly fit to the ongoing situation. And that's what we're seeing here in Germany. I'm going to read to you a report by a mainstream media outlet that alleges a armed coup was taking place in Germany. And let's just read it. Let's dissect what is being said. Thousands of police officers carried out raids across much of Germany on Wednesday against suspected far-right extremists who allegedly sought to overthrow the government in an armed coup. Officials said 25 people were detained. Federal prosecutors said some 3,000 officers conducted searches at 130 sites in 11 of Germany's 16 states. Let me hit the pause button here real quick. Keep in mind what we're seeing right now happen in Germany in terms of this law enforcement operation launched by the far left government that is in power in Berlin. And again, many folks in Germany are not happy with some things that are going on inside of Germany right now. So let's pick back up. While police raids against the far right are not uncommon in the country, still sensitive to its grim Nazi past, the scale of the operation was unusual. Justice Minister Marco Buschmann described the raids as a anti-terrorism operation, adding that the suspects may have planned an armed attack on institutions of the state. Germany's top security officials said the group was driven by violent coup fantasies and conspiracy ideologies. Okay. Fantasies are not illegal. Prosecutors said the suspects were linked to the so-called Reich Citizens Movement, whose adherents reject Germany's post-war constitution and have called for bringing down the government. Folks, do you think at some point for us here in the United States, do you think calling for the bringing down of the government, a change of government, a different government, will result in being called a terrorist organization here in the United States? Do you think we could see operations like what is happening right now in Germany here in the United States? Let's continue. Officers detained 22 German citizens on suspicion of membership in a terrorist organization. That's an important word. That is a bold statement when you call a citizen of your country a member of a terrorist organization. Are they? Or do they not support, simply they do not support the German government? Does that make you a terrorist? No, it doesn't. Just like what was going on in Germany right now was not a coup d'etat. Officers detained 22 German citizens on suspicion of membership in a terrorist organization, prosecutors say. 3 other people, including a Russian citizen, absolutely, got to get the Russians, were held on suspicion of supporting the organization, they said. Another 27 people were under investigation. German media outlet Der Spiegel reported the searched locations included the barracks of Germany's Special Forces Unit, KSK, in southwestern town of Coup. The unit received scrutiny in the past over alleged far-right involvement by some soldiers. By far-right involvement by some soldiers. Now, do we see the German state going after far-left institutions that exist inside the military, such as those that head the German military union? I think not. Let's continue. Federal prosecutors declined to confirm or deny that the barracks was searched. Along with detentions in Germany, prosecutors said one person was detained in the Austrian town of Kitzbühel and another in the Italian city of Perugia. I totally got that wrong. Anyway, prosecutors said those detained are alleged to have last year formed a terrorist organization with the goal of overturning the existing state order in Germany and replace it with their own state, their own form of state, which was already in the course of being founded. That makes no sense. The suspects were aware their aim could only be achieved by military means and with force, prosecutors say. So they can read these guys' minds, and I guess they just admitted to this, huh? Let me read you that again. The suspects were aware their aim could only be achieved by military means and with force, the prosecutors say. Some of the group's members had made concrete preparations to storm Germany's federal parliament with a small armed group, according to prosecutors. The details of this plan still need to be investigated to determine whether any of the suspects can be charged with treason, they said. The group is alleged to have believed in a conglomerate of conspiracy theories consisting of narratives from so-called Reich citizens as well as QAnon ideology. Of course. According to the statement, prosecutors added that members of the group also believe Germany is ruled by so-called deep state. Similar baseless claims about the United States were made by former President Donald Trump. Prosecutors identified the suspected ringleaders as Heinrich PR and Rudiger VP in line with German privacy rules. They basically aren't telling you their complete names. Der Spiegel reported that the former was known. Oh, here, get this. Der Spiegel reported that the former was a well-known 71-year-old member of a minor German noble family. While the latter was a 69-year-old former paratrooper. You gotta fear the 71 and 69-year-old paratroopers, because they are just going to hand out a can of whoop ass to the Reichstag. Wow. Federal prosecutors said Heinrich, whom the group planned to install as Germany's new leader, had contacted Russian officials with the aim of negotiating a new order in the country once the German government was overthrown. He was allegedly assisted by a Russian woman by the name of Vitalia. Oh boy. According to current investigations, there is no indication, however, the persons contacted responded positively to this request, prosecutors said. Prosecutors identified another individual detained by police Wednesday as Birgit. Der Spiegel reported she is a judge and former lawmaker with far-right Alternative for the German Party. The party, known by its German acronym AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, I assume, has increasingly come under scrutiny by German security services due to its ties with extremists. AfD co-leaders Tino Trupala and Alice Weidel condemned the reported plans, which they said they had only learned of through the media. Right. We have full confidence in the authorities involved and demand a swift and comprehensive investigation, they said in a statement. Prosecutors said that apart from a council of leaders, or ROT, the group had tasked several members with the formation of an armed wing led by Rudiger. They plan to obtain weapons and conduct firearms training. 71-year-old paratrooper, watch out. Wednesday's raid showed that we know how to defend ourselves with full force against enemies of democracy, Interior Minister Nancy Faeser said. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar to you? It sounds very familiar to me. The investigation offers an insight into the depths of the terrorist threat within the Reich citizens, Fraser said. Only the further investigation will provide a clear picture of how far the coup plans had come. Sarah Nani, a Green Party lawmaker, suggested the group may not have been very capable. No shit. More details keep coming to light that raise doubts about whether these people were even clever enough to plan and carry out such a coup, Nani said in a post on the social network Mastodon. The fact is, no matter how crude their ideas are and hopeless their plans, even the attempt is dangerous. Officials have repeatedly warned that far-right extremists pose the biggest threat to Germany's domestic security. This threat was highlighted by the killing of a regional politician in the deadly attack on a synagogue in 2019. A far-right a year later, far-right extremists taking part in a protest against the country's pandemic restrictions tried and failed to storm the Bundestag building in Berlin. Fraser announced earlier this year that the government planned to disarm about 1,500 suspected extremists and to tighten background checks for those waiting to acquire guns as part of a broader crackdown on the far right. Germany's chief federal prosecutor planned to make a statement on the case later Wednesday. And I was laughing because I just realized I called the German seat of government the Reichstag and not the Bundestag. My bad. Anyway, I really have to laugh at this, and it's the language is what really concerns me, because it's very similar to language that we see here in the United States, and especially language that the political left uses against its political enemies here in the United States. And my concern, and I think a lot of people's concern, is said operation that we're seeing right now in Germany, which in all probability is baseless and probably didn't even need to make headline news. But again, it's about controlling the thought, controlling the verbiage, controlling words, using those words and changing those words into something that is different. Anyway, that's the coup d'etat in Germany. Have a good day, everybody.